Have you ever walked past a neighbor's house and wondered what goes on behind their closed doors? We like to think we know the people living next to us. We trust the quiet streets and the friendly waves. But what if that trust is misplaced? What if the most ordinary person on your block is hiding the most extraordinary evil? Today, we're diving into a case that shatters the illusion of suburban safety. A story so disturbing it forces us to question everything we think we know about the people around us. This all unfolds in a seemingly perfect American town, the kind you see in movies. White picket fences, kids playing in the street, and a strong sense of community. It's the last place on earth you'd expect to find a monster. And for years, nobody did. The man at the center of this story was the ideal neighbor. He was polite, always willing to lend a hand, and had a reputation for being genuinely kind. He was so unassuming, so completely harmless in appearance, that when things started to get strange, no one connected the dots. It began with something simple, a weird smell. At first, people dismissed it, a dead animal, maybe a backed-up sewer line. The excuses were easy to find because the alternative was unthinkable. Weeks turned into months, and the smell lingered, sometimes stronger, sometimes fainter, but always there. Still, life went on. No one wanted to cause a fuss. No one wanted to accuse their friendly neighbor of, well, they didn't know that's exactly what he was counting on. His greatest weapon wasn't a tool or a trick, it was the trust of his community. This man had been a fixture in the neighborhood for years. He paid his bills, kept his yard tidy, and even helped elderly neighbors with their groceries. People described him as quiet but good. He was the guy you'd ask to watch your dog while you were on vacation, the one you'd give a spare key to without a second thought. This perception of normalcy was a carefully constructed mask, and behind it was a reality more horrific than anyone could imagine. The trust he cultivated became a shield, deflecting suspicion and allowing the darkness inside his home to grow, completely undetected. The beginning of the end came not from a dramatic chase or a panicked 911 call, but from a routine welfare check. An officer was dispatched to the house, likely expecting to find a simple explanation for someone not being seen for a while. But the moment they stepped across the threshold, the illusion of normalcy shattered. The air inside was thick and heavy, and an unnerving silence filled the space. Something was fundamentally wrong. As the officers moved deeper into the house, the scene became progressively more alarming. This wasn't just a messy home, it was a fortress. Certain walls had been reinforced. Some doors had been fitted with locks on the outside, turning rooms into cages. Other areas were meticulously soundproofed. It was a home modified not for comfort, but for control. Every alteration was deliberate, designed for a singular, sinister purpose. The quiet, helpful neighbor had built himself a prison, right in the middle of their idyllic town. And then, they started finding the evidence. It wasn't laid out in the open. It was hidden, concealed with chilling precision. They uncovered proof of unspeakable crimes that had been happening for years, right under everyone's noses. Crimes that had no witnesses, no reports, and no victims crying for help. The suspect's planning was meticulous. He had created a world where his actions were invisible, where his victims simply vanished without a trace, swallowed by the silence of his ordinary-looking house on a quiet suburban street. So, how did he get away with it for so long? The answer is as tragic as it is terrifying. Investigators soon discovered a pattern. His victims were often people on the fringes of society, runaways, transients, individuals with few family ties or friends. They were people who wouldn't be missed right away, people whose disappearance might not even be reported for weeks or months, if at all. He specifically targeted those who were most vulnerable, knowing that their absence would create the fewest ripples. It was a cold, calculated strategy that allowed him to operate in plain sight for an astonishing amount of time. As the investigation widened, the true scale of his depravity came into focus. This wasn't just about what happened in this one house. Evidence started connecting him to other locations, other states, stretching back years. A disturbing timeline of malevolence began to emerge, revealing a predator who moved silently through society, leaving a trail of missing people that no one had ever linked together. He wasn't just a monster hiding in one town. He was a phantom who had haunted multiple communities, all while maintaining his cover as a normal, everyday guy. When the news broke, the reaction from the neighbors was a universal chorus of shock and disbelief. But beneath the shock was a powerful wave of guilt. How did we not know? They asked themselves and reporters. The phrase repeated over and over was, "But he was always so nice." They recounted stories of his kindness, the times he helped them, the trust they had placed in him. One neighbor tearfully admitted she had given him a key to her house. Another remembered letting him play with their children in the front yard. The realization that they had lived alongside this darkness, welcomed it, and trusted it, was devastating. The case became a national media sensation. Everyone was asking the same question. How could this happen? How can a person commit such atrocities for so long without anyone noticing? Criminal psychologists and profilers weighed in, explaining a chilling concept known as the mask of sanity. They pointed out that true evil doesn't always wear a scary costume. It doesn't always announce itself with loud noises and obvious threats. Sometimes, the most dangerous evil is quiet, patient, and friendly. It smiles, it helps, it blends in so perfectly that by the time you see the danger, it's already far too late. The suspect was eventually arrested and faced justice, but the story doesn't end there. For investigators, the case remains an open wound. Due to the passage of time and the suspect's careful concealment, some evidence was lost forever. They strongly believe there are more victims out there, names they don't know, faces they've never seen, families who may never get closure. The thought that some of his crimes might remain a secret forever is a haunting reality for the law enforcement officers who dedicated their lives to uncovering the truth. Justice, in this case, may never be fully complete. Today, this story serves as a stark and powerful warning. It's a case study taught in police academies, changing how missing person cases are investigated and how seemingly unrelated disappearances are connected. It's a cautionary tale for communities everywhere, a reminder that safety isn't guaranteed by a quiet street or a friendly face. It reminds us that appearances can be deceiving, and silence can hide the most terrible secrets. The most frightening monsters aren't always strangers lurking in the shadows. Sometimes, they're the people we think we know best. The full details of the investigation, the mistakes that were made, and the shocking piece of evidence that finally brought it all crashing down are even more incredible. If you want to understand how he was finally caught and the lessons we can all learn from this, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications for our next video. Thanks for watching.